On the level of Zootopia and Toy Story, Hopper's premieres with almost perfect ratings, one of the best animated movies of recent years. Meh, all of this is just pure exaggeration. The truth is completely different from what they say. Dude, yes, it's a nice movie, it has good ideas and several things that work really well, but we're not talking about the eighth wonder of the world either. So, is Hopper's really as good as they say? Well, in this video we're gonna see exactly what Hopper's did right, what things feel really weird, and if it's really worth going to see it. Just so you know, this video will have a few spoilers, but nothing that will ruin the movie for you. First of all, what the heck is Hopper's? Basically, the story follows a college student obsessed with animals, who ends up transferring her consciousness into the body of a robotic beaver. Yeah, that's how crazy the idea is, just so you know what you're in for. They claim to do it to better understand animals and stuff, but ultimately, they don't even do that. Anyway, let's take a look at everything that doesn't work and what does work in the movie. And believe me, there are a lot of things that don't work. To begin with, the movie has a very nice message and really good intentions. But the problem was that to achieve it, they had to make a very strange story. Pixar had the idea of raising awareness about the environment with a movie, and at the same time doing it with an innovative concept, and everything was fine up to this point. What I don't understand is why. In the final movie, it seems like they were rushed a lot to do this and ended up with a mess of things. A clear example is the characters, man. The most outstanding characters here are going to be the animals, the humans, including the girl who is the main character. It's like you just don't connect with her. She doesn't have that charm of another character you've seen from Pixar. Maybe her design looks a bit like Hiro Hamada from Big Hero 6, but overall she doesn't have anything special as a character. They don't tell her story, they don't show us her relationships with her parents, they don't even explain why she's so weird. She just exists in the universe as physical matter. And now let's compare this. How is this with Turning Red? May, the main character, is really charming and has a lot of things you can relate to. Ah, what a curious girl, I like her! In Hopper's, the protagonist leaves a lot to be desired, and that makes her character kind of flat. I think that's why, when she transforms into a beaver, she feels much more alive and like a more complete character. If she had been the beaver from the beginning, you would have connected with her more and liked her better, but I don't know. Honestly, I can't imagine that this girl will be a character remembered for a long time. Now, the other animals do have some charm. They have that essence that makes you like them and remember them a lot. For example, I only remember the girl's face. Mainly because they show it to you several times on the screen. And as for the other animals, yes, I remember them for the things they did, the charm they had, the lessons, and the good friends they were. And if with this the main character already disappointed you, things get even worse. The other humans are a total failure, a poorly told joke. Neither the mayor, nor the doctor and her team of losers, nor the townspeople, or even Mabel's mom have even a little bit of charm as characters. There are several times when they're truly unbearable. You're having a great time watching the animals, and suddenly they put the humans in to ruin the scene. Seriously, man, I don't know how to explain it, but their human characters feel so simple and insignificant that the story would have been so much better without them. That's right, I said it, and I know that those who have already seen the movie are going to think the same thing. The only two humans who are spared are the two grandparents. First, Mabel's grandmother, because you actually connect with her a little. She's not the sweetest grandmother in the world either, but she's also not as wrinkled and withered as Mama Coco. What matters is the personality, and this grandmother has something, but not too much. And the other grandpa is an NPC who was much funnier than all the other humans put together. And it's better not to even talk about the mayor, because he deserves a whole video just for how detestable he is. What is it? Oh, I almost forgot. There's something that makes them even worse. Their forced and unnecessary jokes don't mean that the whole movie is full of jokes or that it's like an animated comedy. But the problem is that there are a few situations where you think, dude, was your joke really necessary? It was totally lame. At some moments, you actually feel uncomfortable because of how absurd it sounds or even how things look, the scenes.
This in this, yes, this in this, this in this.
But let me clarify something. This always happens with humans. The jokes with animals. Now they're a 10 out of 10. But now we have to talk about what didn't work with the story. It has an interesting beginning. They introduce you to Mabel, her problem, and her temporary solution. But from there, everything starts to get mixed up like soggy chilaquiles. I mean, we start with a very simple story and suddenly it starts to get much more complex, dramatic, and exaggerated than it should be, to the point that many things that happen seem really absurd to you, literally. The movie and all the trouble this girl caused just because of a whim could have ended in less than 5 minutes. If she had just made a formal request to that idiot mayor, and there was no longer any reason for almost exterminating all the animals and humans in her city. And everything was so mixed up that there was practically never a true proper villain. Supposedly, at first it was the mayor who was the villain because he was going to destroy the forest, but it turned out that it was actually the girl who was throwing a tantrum. So the mayor wasn't the bad guy? What the heck happened, man? I'm really confused here. The dumbest thing is that almost at the end of the movie, they tried to introduce a villain who just appeared out of nowhere, so it wouldn't feel like a story without an antagonist. Literally, it seems like ChatGPT made it for them because they finished the movie and realized, oh god, we don't have a villain, man. That really was absurd. I don't know if Pixar was given very little time to make this movie or what happened. Because there were a lot of things that they didn't give any conclusion to, they didn't explain what happened. Mabel's parents just disappeared and that was it. The movie just ended. And hasta la vista, baby. It wasn't even there. One of the most important elements that Pixar movies have is their memorable music. Before the movie started, they showed the commercial for Toy Story 5. And as soon as his song starts, you say, oh god, man, they're going to make Woody bald and I keep getting older. But in Hoppers, there's nothing like that. There's no soundtrack that wraps you up or makes you feel like you're in a multi-dimensional symphony orchestra. The only song they had was when King George made everyone dance at his meeting and then at his party. And that's it, that's all. And those songs, King George played them on an old tape recorder, like if you had searched on YouTube for copyright-free dance music, that kind of song, did he play. That's how bland everything was. And in general, they compared the movie a lot to Avatar, because the main character gets into the beaver's body to experience life with that species. Or with Brother Bear. For the same reason, but without magic. And yes, maybe that's the general idea, and that's even why they mention it in the trailer. No, it's not Avatar, it's just like Avatar.
It's nothing like Avatar.
But really, it has nothing to do with those movies. Dude, it's something completely different. And, according to what Pixar said, they did take inspiration from certain things in Avatar and even from the Planet Earth documentaries. But the truth is, the only documentary part was a few failed shots of the doctor trying to study the beavers. And that's it, that was all their inspiration. What do you think? But it's not all bad news, man, thank heavens. It did have a lot of good things that kept this movie from being complete garbage. If it weren't for that, honestly, it would have been disgusting. And the good things are so powerful that you'll see why it's actually worth watching this movie, even if it's just once. And first of all, there's the whole theme with the animals. They say funny things, you get curious about how their lives work, and they even do sarcastic things that make you smile more than once. Man, I remember very well that the first animal that talked to Mabel in beaver version said hi. And then all the chickens were talking like, hey girl, are you single? What are you doing later? Man, that was truly epic, and I'm not gonna lie to you. The beginning was really starting to get on my nerves, but as soon as the part with the animals came, I said, well, the wait was totally worth it. Then they give us some interesting ideas, like the rules that exist in the animal world, the problems that were caused by the constructions, and how did they manage to adapt despite the overpopulation they already had? That is really interesting, but what truly won everyone's heart was the presence of King George. That beaver was really a great guy, my friend. Now I'm realizing something really absurd. Could it be that it's actually better? The beaver had much more backstory than the main protagonist herself. I think that's why so many people loved King George and completely forgot about Mabel. Wow, that's really disappointing. Anyway, the animals that later become allies of Mabel Beaver are really funny and charismatic true friends. They even taught you a lot more lessons than the humans themselves. And the great thing about this, which possibly many of you are afraid might show up, which determines whether you'll go to the movies or not, is that there is no forced inclusion. Hooray. Finally, Disney didn't want to force in all their rotten ideas, trying to be super inclusive and politically correct. So don't worry anymore, my friend, none of that is in there. Overall, its message is really nice. It really makes you think about the harm humans cause to animals and their habitats, and it makes you much more aware of that. Even the ending is very beautiful and memorable. Just like with its design and animation, it has that cartoonish style that gives it its own essence, very interesting and refreshing. You could even say that you can feel like you're inside the forest. And something I have to say is that this movie was possibly saved because they brought in the creator of the animated cartoon We Bare Bears, Daniel Chung. This guy already had a lot of experience telling stories from the perspective of animals, which of course was reflected in the movie. So, a round of applause for Daniel for saving Hoppers from a disaster. In conclusion, is it worth it or not? Well, it depends on your situation. If you just want to go to the movies to see a film that won't disappoint you too much, yes, it's a good movie for you to watch, enjoy, and have a good time. If what matters to you is going with kids so they have a good time, maybe? All the kids who were in the movie theater didn't really get very excited watching the movie. What I heard them talk about the most was the grandparents. Seriously, that's all they said, like, oh, it's her grandma, look, it's my grandma, look, it's the grandpa. Oh yeah, that's the only thing I heard them say. As for the rest, I just heard that they were talking about other things and were kind of distracted during certain parts of the movie. Would I ever watch Hoppers again? Possibly not, but I don't regret having watched it either. If you ask someone who has already seen Hoppers if they want to watch the movie again, or if they'd rather watch Lightning McQueen again, I bet everything they'll prefer Lightning McQueen. So now you know, if you just want to pass the time, cry a little for Mabel's grandma and some little animals, Hoppers will be perfect for you. Oh, and in case you're interested, there are no capybaras in the movie.